Welcome back to the Short Game Podcast. It is Monday, March 30th. We are kicking off the Corporate Warlord week. You finally hit a goal. You got the promotion or you lost the weight, and now you are coasting. You think because you won yesterday, you are safe today. That is the exact moment you become a target. The second you get comfortable, there is someone hungrier than you waking up to take your spot. Today we are reading the ultimate manual for market dominance. Only the Paranoid Survive by Andy Grove. We are going to talk about why success breeds complacency and why complacency will bankrupt you. I'm Drew Meitner. At NexYear, our VIP logistics model is completely dialed in, but I refuse to coast. We are actively building a custom AI tool to completely disrupt our own internal systems. A corporate warlord does not wait for the market to change. They burn the boats themselves. Let's get into it.
What's your name?
My name is Tom Shelby.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
King Ragnar. That is my name.
Yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria.
I'm Batman.
This is Jon Snow. He's king in the north.
My name is Asax Schrader.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Antonio Montana.
My name is Patrick Payne.
My name is Walter Hartwell White.
My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Gus.
Welcome to episode 36 of the podcast, kicking off what we are calling the Corporate Warlord Week. We are going deep into market share, raw aggression, and why getting comfortable is the absolute most dangerous thing you can do. Let me paint a very specific picture for you right now. You just hit a massive life-changing goal. Maybe you finally got that job promotion you have been grinding for. Maybe you lost that 20 pounds and can see your abs. Maybe you hit your revenue target and bought a nice new watch. You take a deep breath. You lean back in your expensive office chair and you think to yourself that you have finally made it. You start coasting on your past momentum. You start sleeping in an extra hour because you feel like you earned it. You stop tracking your macros because you think your metabolism is just magically fixed. You stop making those extra 5 painful cold calls at the end of the day. I need to hit you with some absolute truth right now, and it might sting a little bit. The universe does not care about what you did yesterday. The market does not care. Your competitors do not care. Coasting is just failing in slow motion. The second you think you have made it, you paint a giant neon target on your own back. Complacency kills, man. It is a silent disease that rots you from the inside out. If you are not terrified of someone coming up behind you and taking your spot, you are already losing it. That is exactly why today we are diving incredibly deep into the mindset of a true operator, a legendary corporate warlord. We are breaking down a phenomenal book called Only the Paranoid Survive by Andy Grove. If you do not know who Andy Grove is, you need to wake up and do your homework. He was the legendary CTO of Intel, the guy who essentially built the Silicon Foundation of the entire modern world. He literally wrote the definitive playbook on surviving chaotic, brutal market shifts. Grove had this absolute core belief, and he is often credited with the famous motto, "Only the Paranoid Survive." It wasn't just a catchy phrase for a company t-shirt, it was his literal operating system. He genuinely believed that business success actually contains the seeds of its own destruction. Think about that concept for a second. The more successful you are, the more people want a chunk of your business, and then another chunk, until there is absolutely nothing left. Success makes you fat, happy, and incredibly slow. It makes you highly vulnerable to what Grove calls a strategic inflection point. What the hell is a strategic inflection point? Grove defines it as a specific time in the life of a business when its fundamentals are about to completely change. It is that critical moment when the balance of forces shifts from the old structure, from the old ways of doing things, directly to the new. It is a point where the curve has subtly but profoundly changed, never to change back again. You simply cannot go back to the way things were. The rules of the game have been entirely rewritten while you were busy patting yourself on the back. Grove says that these inflection points can mean an opportunity to rise to new heights, but they just as likely signal the beginning of the absolute end. And he does not sugarcoat the reality of this. He says these changes build up force so insidiously that you may have a hard time even putting a finger on what has changed, yet you know deep down that something has. It is like you are sailing a boat, and you are down below in the cabin, and you do not even sense that the wind has completely shifted until the boat suddenly heels over. Suddenly, what worked before just does not work anymore. You are getting hit by what Grove refers to as a 10x force. A 10x force happens when a change in how some element of your business is conducted becomes an order of magnitude larger than what that business is accustomed to. There is wind, and then there is a massive typhoon. When a 10 times force hits you, all bets are entirely off. You lose complete control of your destiny, and things happen to your business that simply did not happen before. Let me tell you a legendary story straight from the book to show you exactly how ruthless Grove was about this survival mindset. Back in the day, Intel was not actually famous for microprocessors. They started out making memory chips, and that was their absolute core identity. But then, in the early 1980s, the Japanese memory producers appeared on the scene in overwhelming force. These Japanese companies had seemingly limitless access to funds and were building massive, highly efficient, modern factories. Suddenly, Intel employees were coming back from trips to Japan with absolutely terrifying stories. They were reporting that the quality levels of Japanese memories were consistently and substantially better than those produced by American companies. Intel's very first reaction was pure stubborn denial. They had the blinding arrogance of past success, but the cold reality was totally unavoidable. The Japanese producers were taking over the worldwide semiconductor market right in front of their eyes. They were offering high-quality products at astonishingly low prices. Intel was getting absolutely slaughtered. They were losing money for quite some time trying to compete with the Japanese producers. They were wandering blindly in what Grove calls the Valley of Death. The Valley of Death is that perilous transition between the old ways and the new ways of doing business. It is a nightmare scenario where you are hemorrhaging cash and you literally do not know if you will make it out alive. This is exactly where the corporate warlord mentality firmly kicks in. It is mid-1985. Grove is sitting in his office with Intel's chairman and CEO, Gordon Moore. They are looking out the window, completely depressed, staring at the Ferris wheel at a nearby amusement park. Grove turns to Gordon Moore and asks a question that takes massive brass balls. He asks, if we got kicked out and the board brought in a new CEO, what do you think he would do? Gordon did not even hesitate for a single second. He said he would get us out of memories. Grove stared at him, completely numb, and then delivered the ultimate operator line. He said, why shouldn't you and I walk out the door, come back and do it ourselves? They decided to completely gut their own company, abandon the exact product that made them famous, and pivot entirely into microprocessors. They had to lay off thousands of loyal employees, shut down legacy factories, and face extreme emotional resistance from their own team. It was a brutal, agonizing process that took them 3 full years. They stepped entirely outside of their emotional attachment to the past. They achieved a pure outsider's intellectual objectivity. They blew up their own comfort zone long before the market could bury them completely. And because they made that forceful, deeply paranoid move, Intel became the undisputed king of microprocessors and one of the most powerful companies in human history. They survived entirely because they were paranoid. But the paranoia never actually stops. Even after becoming absolute giants, Intel got hit again. Fast forward to the fall of 1994. Intel had launched the flagship Pentium processor, and it was a massive, unprecedented success. They were a $10 billion company growing at a staggering 30% per year. They ran the massive Intel Inside marketing campaign, spending hundreds of millions to become a recognized consumer brand like Coca-Cola or Nike. Then, a math professor posts on an internet forum that he found a tiny flaw in the Pentium chip. It was a rounding error that would only happen once every 27,000 years for an average spreadsheet user. Intel initially thought it was just noise, but they did not realize that the fundamental rules had changed yet again. Because of their massive marketing campaign, they were not just selling to computer engineers anymore. They were selling directly to the general public. IBM abruptly stopped shipping computers with Pentium chips. Intel's hotlines were ringing furiously from all quarters, with angry customers demanding immediate replacements. Grove realized they were thrust squarely into the middle of another strategic inflection point. The unstated rules of their massive business had shifted violently under their feet. They had to completely change their policy, offer replacements to absolutely everybody, and take a shocking $475 million write-off. It was a highly painful lesson that you can never ever drop your guard. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Drew, I do not run a multi-billion-dollar semiconductor company. Why should I care about any of this? Listen to me very closely. Grove makes it explicitly clear that strategic inflection points are not restricted to technological industries or massive corporations. Grove says, and I quote, "The sad news is, nobody owes you a career." He says your career is literally your business, and you absolutely own it as a sole proprietor. You are in constant competition with millions of similar businesses, which are millions of other employees all over the entire world. It is your sole responsibility to protect this personal business of yours from harm and to position it to benefit from the changes in the environment. Nobody else can possibly do that for you. If you are coasting at your job because you think your past loyalty guarantees your future paycheck, you are living in a delusion. Long distances used to be a massive moat that insulated people from workers on the other side of the world. But every single day, technology narrows that moat inch by inch. Every person in the world is on the verge of becoming both a coworker and a fierce competitor to every one of us. If you are not deeply paranoid about keeping your skills razor sharp, someone else is going to gladly eat your lunch. This brings me exactly to what we are actively doing at NexYear right now. This is the raw operator reality. We built a high-end VIP logistics model at NexYear that is completely crushing it in the market. It is highly comfortable, it is extremely profitable, and it feels incredibly safe. Most normal founders would pop a bottle of expensive champagne, buy a fast boat, and just ride that comfortable wave directly into the sunset. But I am constantly looking over my shoulder every single waking minute. I know for a fact that if we just rest on this VIP logistics model, some hungry 20-year-old kid in a garage is going to figure out a way to automate it, undercut my pricing, and entirely steal my market share. So, what are we doing about it? We are actively building a highly custom AI tool to act as a strategic advisor for our clients. We are pouring our own resources, time, and money into a completely new, disruptive technology. I am intentionally disrupting my own highly profitable business model from the inside out. I am forcefully making my own current product obsolete before a vicious competitor ever gets the chance to do it for me. That is exactly what it means to be a true corporate warlord. You aggressively attack your own weaknesses. You ruthlessly hunt your own inefficiencies. You act exactly like Gordon Moore and Andy Grove staring out that window. You boldly get out ahead of the 10x force. This is the universal sovereign standard that I deeply need every single one of you to internalize today. I do not care if you are a broke student, a competitive athlete, a mid-level manager, or a high-flying CEO. You must completely stop celebrating the past. The shiny trophy you won last year is currently collecting dust. The massive revenue record you broke last month is already ancient history. Your past success is not a protective shield. It is a giant neon sign telling your enemies exactly where you are sleeping. You need to aggressively protect your territory with extreme paranoia. You have to assume that there is someone waking up right now, extremely early in the morning, chugging a black coffee, who desperately wants exactly what you have. Are you really going to let them? Are you going to sit there lazily on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through social media, coasting on the hard work you did 3 years ago? Or are you going to finally wake up? Are you going to get deeply aggressively paranoid? Are you going to act like a true corporate warlord and fiercely defend your territory? The choice is entirely yours to make. But always remember the fundamental rule. Only the paranoid survive. Everyone else just gets comfortably left behind. Stay sharp, stay incredibly hungry, and never ever get comfortable. I will see you guys out there in the trenches. Do not let me down.
I